And welcome back to another edition of the Friday Show. I'm Ray Paulick. Happy to be joined today by Joe Nevills, bloodstock editor of the Paulick Report, and news editor Chelsea Hackbarth. We are all sitting here celebrating our victories in the Kentucky Derby last week, right? We all had Medina Spirit.
Yeah, cashed big time. So much money. So much
Not
money.
even a little bit.
No, me
What?
neither. I think
What,
licking my wounds. Highly motivated. Was not as motivated as I was. He finished 10th. Chelsea, who was your top pick?
Hot Rod Charlie, and I just need to say that my pick finished ahead of both of your picks, and that makes me the winner. So I did celebrate that.
Well, I guess in horseshoes that matters, but okay. And Joe gave us a lead pipe cinch on essential quality, I think.
And he looked like a lead pipe cinch until he didn't.
And he ran okay. I mean,
yeah.
This is not going to go down in history as the greatest running of the Kentucky Derby ever. I was concerned throughout the day that the track was starting to really favor horses on the lead. You know, when you saw Jackie's Warrior do what he did, setting those kind of fractions and still hanging on to win, it looked like whoever got to the lead first had a big advantage.
Yeah, it's the kind of trip that I figured would win the race, just not the horse to make the trip.
Right.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know that we could have pictured that cluster between highly motivated, Rock Your World, and essential quality at the start.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got that starting gate to exactly like for that reason to go away.
Right.
That's for that new 20 stall starting gate, and yet the same exact spot did it again this year. So.
Well, we move on to Baltimore and Derby winner Medina Spirit's heading that way, and so is the second horse in Bob Baffert's stable, Concert Tour, and he's looking to become the winningest trainer in the history of the Preakness, just as he did, beating Plain Ben Jones as the winningest trainer in the Kentucky Derby.
Here we go.
Not the only horse going, but it seems to have a couple of aces.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like he has one ace. I'm really skeptical of Concert Tour's chances. I mean, there's no money to be made in Concert Tour winning over Medina Spirit in an evenly matched field. I don't know.
I mean, you've got that Japanese horse coming in, Francisco de Ina, and you never know. Sometimes they shake up things on the underneath end.
Yeah, got to blow up those superfecta tickets.
Can I bring up the tight turns at Pimlico? Those non-existent tight turns. Those Japanese horses don't like that.
Well, he's an American bred. Maybe he's seen them, in his dreams. I don't know.
You bring up the tight turns, I'll bring up the new shooters, and we'll have our Preakness Stakes Mad Libs filled out here.
All right. Well, it was a busy news week this week. I'm really excited about the naming of the board of directors and the committee members for the Horseracing Integrity and Safety Authority. But we're not going to talk about that because we don't want to put people to sleep. Some good people on that board, though. But I think it is of interest that the Hall of Fame inductees were named, and it wasn't a real deep crop this year, Joe.
Yeah, we have three of them. Two of them on the flat side, one of them on the steeplechase side. Your two flat entries are trainer Todd Pletcher and Triple Crown winner American Pharoah. And honestly, I don't recall the steeplechase trainer's name off the top of my head. I assume that the steeplechase people know what they're doing, and I'm happy for them. But let's focus our attentions here on the two flat ones. Those are two slam dunks. Like, we know those two were coming as soon as they were eligible, right?
Absolutely. Todd Pletcher has been running around the racetrack since he was in diapers, and he's been doing it just about better than everybody else. So, in my opinion.
Yeah, he deserves. I mean, he's like in certain sports, Hall of Fame, you have first ballot, cinches. Todd Pletcher was the first ballot cinch, and they don't release the vote totals, but if he didn't receive 100% of the votes, I would be shocked and disappointed in the people that didn't vote for him, because he definitely deserved to be in. And I think there's some other people on the ballot, maybe some horses on the ballot, that deserve to get in. Do you have any thoughts on that, Chelsea?
To be honest, no. I thought the voters got it right this year. The Hall of Fame doesn't need to be overflowing. with horses or people. So I think medication violations for certain trainers should keep you out. And I think, although that hasn't clearly worked just yet, but I do think that personally. And I think, as Ray said earlier, you need to win at least 50% of your races to be considered for the Hall of Fame as a horse.
Well, that's just my opinion. That's not necessarily the way other voters look at it. But I mean, that's kind of where I start. And,
yeah. For me, I had 2 names on my ballot, and those are the 2 names that got in. People who follow my Making Claims column will know that I have grievance with the fact that Awesome Again's not in the Hall of Fame, but he didn't even make it out of committee, so I can't really argue too much about that one. But my voting process is basically I look at the names, and if it feels right, I go with it. I look over the numbers and double check myself because my gut can be wrong. But most of the time, if I don't look at the name and think, yes, that's a Hall of Famer, it's a hard climb up to get back. It's the Hall of Fame, not the Hall of Very Good. And I'm very strict with my ballot because of that.
Well, I think Corey Nakatani should have gotten in. And here's a guy who gets very little respect. And I get it. He's not the friendliest guy in the world. He's had issues with he doesn't like me. We had issues
like
together.
One of your least. I think you're one of his least favorite people in the world.
But I voted for him because this is not a popularity contest. He gets no respect. On the ballot that was sent out to the voters, they couldn't even spell the name of the city where he was born properly. They got it Corvina, California. Corvina is a fish. Covina is where he was born. The Hall of Fame couldn't even get his birthplace right. So, I mean, I don't even know if the stats are correct on his ballot here, but 3,909 wins, 341 graded stakes wins. He won the Breeders' Cup Sprint 3 years in a row. He's got 10 Breeders' Cup wins, I believe. I don't know how many Grade 1 wins. He's got a ton. He was a tough competitor. He wasn't afraid to tell a trainer what he thought of a horse. He wasn't afraid to tell a writer what he thought of their work or them personally. But that's okay. This is not a popularity contest. And, the same people that aren't voting for Corey Nakatani are probably the ones that wouldn't vote for Garrett Gomez because he had a drug problem. And then Garrett Gomez overdosed and died, and then they voted for him. So I think this is an injustice for Corey Nakatani, and he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. The rant is done.
That's a good rant. So moving on to subjects completely different to let Ray cool down a little bit. Let's look ahead to 2022. We have a list of horses that are people and horses that are coming eligible for the first time. And I'm just curious with you guys. Obviously, this isn't anything binding, but let's just get that gut feeling of whether this, I'm going to read you some names and you guys tell me whether these feel like potential Hall of Famers or not. We're going to start with the jockeys. Going to start with Rafael Bay Hirano. Yay or nay?
Not yet.
I agree. I got the nod no from Chelsea. Alan Garcia.
Also not yet.
Yeah. And that's it for the human categories.
Wow.
There are only 2 jockeys coming up for 2022. There are no trainers. Well, I mean, there are obviously trainers that will be eligible, but not ones with, top 100 earnings or ones with legitimate shots. So we've got a pretty good list of horses here. So I'm just going to run down a few names here. Give me the thumbs up, thumbs down. Champion Turf Male of 2016, Flintshire. Yay or nay? No. Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat here. Really did a lot of his work kind of elsewhere. Needed a little bit more. How about Breeders' Cup Turf winner Found? Beat the boys.
No.
I'm not here. Over there, maybe.
Okay, I think I might finally have a yes for you here. Let's try this one here. 4-time Eclipse Award winner Beholder.
I think she's in the Todd Pletcher category of first ballot cinch.
Yeah, that's a slam dunk. This one I looked at the list for a while, and I don't really know where I fall on this one, so I'm curious for you guys. He was a champion 2-year-old, won the Kentucky Derby, won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, Nyquist.
And off to a good start at stud, even though that shouldn't have any influence on anything. I don't know. I don't think so. Not yet.
I think he needed to continue on through his 3-year-old season a little better than he did to be Hall of Fame.
I'm with you, Chelsea. Like, he was really good, and then he kind of fell off, and I wish he would have sustained for just a little longer. I got another one here that I feel like there might be a little room for debate, but I feel pretty good about. Two-time champion Tepin, Hall of Famer or not?
Heck yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, I think
maybe not the first year she's eligible, just because it's a more of a "what have you done for me lately" kind of ballot. It feels like, but definitely soon.
Okay, yeah, I could see that. I could see some people kind of wavering back and forth and maybe thinking about it for a while. Next one on the list is 3-time Grade 1 winner Frosted.
I can't see that. No.
Yeah, Frosted, very, very good horse, but it always felt like he was chasing someone. He was chasing American Pharoah through the Triple Crown season. I feel like he was always, we were waiting for him to take that next leap, and he won a lot of good races, won a lot of Grade 1 races, but never quite got that Hall of Fame second.
I mean, his Met Mile was mind-blowing, but I don't think one race puts you in the Hall of Fame.
I agree. So next one, this one, another one that could go either way for me. Champion 3-year-old filly, Kentucky Oaks winner, Breeders' Cup Distaff winner, Untappable.
That's one where I'd have to sit down and start doing some comparisons to horses that are on the ballot this past year, like Blind Luck, Havre de Grace, and Game on Dude, Kona Gold. They were all on the ballot this year. I don't know. On that one, I have to take a closer look.
Yeah, she's tough. I like her resume better than I like someone like Rags to Riches. Like, I think she belongs to be at least a finalist, and it's one that we'd have to see how she stacks up with some other ones if I'd actually let her in or not, but I'd think long and hard about it.
And actually, Rags to Riches was on this year's ballot too.
Yes. Yeah, that was a no on her.
Yeah.
This next one, German-bred Protectionist.
Who?
Exactly. Ran once in Canada, made a bunch of money internationally. I don't see this one happening.
Who came up with this list, Joe?
I'm taking this from the Hall of Fame when they ask for eligible, for the committees. They give you a list of like the top 100 horses by earnings that are, still eligible or in, and these were the ones on the list. So one with a little more of a U.S. resume here. Preakness winner, Haskell winner, Santa Anita Derby winner, Exaggerator. Yay or nay?
No.
Yeah.
This doesn't sound Hall of Fame to me.
Yeah, it doesn't really ring it for me here.
Well, cool story. I mean, he was fun to watch.
Oh, absolutely. But again, it's the Hall of Fame, not the Hall of Very Good. So this one is probably the last one on the list that I have a little bit of conflict over whether he'd make it or not. Won the Breeders' Cup Turf, won the Arlington Million, Turf Classic at Churchill, the Joe Hirsch, Little Mike.
That's again in the Hall of Very Good.
I think so, yeah. If you get an Eclipse Award win, might have it, but I don't know. Was he ever really truly the best turf horse in America? Probably
ask Dale Romans his opinion.
That's true.
Whether the horse should get in, because I think we would get a different answer.
I agree. So the last one, I have a feeling I know the answer for this one, but it's the last one on the list. Won the Clark Handicap, the late great FNX.
For his name alone, he should be considered.
I want to see that speech. Yes.
That's not going to happen, I don't think.
No. So, it's going to be a good group of horses that probably ultimately get in, not even counting the ones who might come in on a second or later ballot. But there are some strong names here that are definitely going to get in, or at least certainly seem like they're going to be first ballots. Beholder, Tepin, maybe a horse like Untappable, maybe a horse like Nyquist. Like, that's a solid group of horses.
By the way, with this year's induction ceremonies, are they planning to have it live and with 2 years worth of inductions?
That is my understanding. Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
So Mark Cassie will be up there too. So
Good.
Yeah, I think
got in.
A lot of things happened in 2020 where people kind of got passed over for things that they would normally get recognition for, and I do hope that they have a chance to be out there at to get the plaque hung and to be recognized for their accomplishments that were somewhat missed last year.
Definitely. Hey gang, it's Bloodstock editor Joe Nevills here with your toast to Vino Rosso. This time around, we're going back to Elm Tree Farm in Paris, Kentucky to visit a colt out of the majestic perfection mare Maggie. This is a February 20th foal bred by Nancy Shuford from the family of Grade 3 winner Poker Player. The folks over at Elm Tree Farm have been big believers in Vino Rosso from the jump. When I spoke to Elm Tree's Jody Huckabee earlier this year, he said he had 5 foaling out on the farm this season between his own and for clients. He liked the first couple that hit the ground so much that he brought a couple more seasons to the stallion. Jody said he was big on the leg Vino Rosso was putting into his foals. Looking at the scope of the stallion himself and the other foals we've seen in the series, I think it's safe to say the Vino Rosso type is definitely defining itself quickly. At this point in the game, you couldn't ask for more. And that's our toast to Vino Rosso.
Welcome back to the Friday show, and thank you to Spendthrift Farm for their sponsorship of A Toast to Vino Rosso. Now it's time for the Star of the Week. John Velazquez has sort of reinvented himself as a 40, in his late 40s. He's approaching that time when jockeys start thinking about hanging up. What a terrific Oaks and Derby weekend John Velazquez had.
Absolutely. And really assertive rides for both of them too, with the Oaks on Malathat just, managing to do a little bit of race riding, but still just, overpower the horse on the outside search results. In the Derby, just refusing to let anyone pass with Medina Spirit. Just two really assertive, confident rides with Johnny V here.
He's one of those people in racing that you actually enjoy rooting for. He's actually one of the nicest people out there. There was a story that went around Facebook after he won the Derby this year about a jockey that now rides at Parks, and the kid was getting, I believe his name's Josu Arce. I don't know how to pronounce that, but the kid had no money, was just getting started in horses, and Johnny bought him a whole set of everything he needed to start race riding: helmet, vest, boots, saddle, everything, and never would accept money back once the kid got going. And I mean, I don't know too many people in the real world that will do that kind of thing for somebody they don't know, much less in the horse racing industry.
Chelsea, I thought you were going to bring up the Facebook post about John Velazquez saying that he turned down an invitation to the White House, which was shared, I don't know how many thousand times, completely false. It even made USA Today, which fact checked it and said this is not true. It's just amazing with the sewer that social media can be sometimes. But John Velazquez is a gentleman. He's a family man. He's an industry leader. He's been head of the Jockeys Guild for a long time now. He's just this week was named, as I said earlier, the Horse Racing Authority is named its board and 2 committees, and John is on one of those committees, the safety committee, which is awesome because he really cares for his fellow riders.
And it's amazing how much things can change over the course of a decade. If you look back to 2011, one of the big questions was, is John Velazquez ever going to win a Derby? He hadn't won one yet, and he picked up the mount on Animal Kingdom, won that one, and has since won 3 more, so he's got 4. He's 1 short of the record at this point. So over the course of a decade, he went from, is he ever going to win the big one, to being the one who's best known for winning the big one. It's fantastic. And as you mentioned, he's getting better with age. The man's in his late 40s at this point. This is something that you don't see in professional sports, and it's really something to behold.
Joe, you mentioned that move he made on Malathat down the stretch where he eased the filly in, tightened things up on search results. And, there were some comments, I think, from his fellow riders about that. And so they said, that's Johnny. It's not breaking any rules, but it's really race riding and being very savvy. He's a veteran, and he's at the top of his game right now.
Well, it's cool to me is to see the other riders congratulate him after the wire.
Yes.
You don't see that very often. I mean, the last time I remember that happening on a big race day was Frankie Dettori and Ryan Moore after the 2018 Breeders' Cup Turf. But, I mean, beyond that, these guys don't generally get along that well. So, for all
you could ask Paco and Arana Ortiz about that. Right? Yeah.
We don't talk about that, right?
All right. Well, with that, that's going to do it for this edition of the Friday show. Next week is the Preakness. We'll be back. Talk to you then. Thanks a lot.